The waterways heritage is a rich fabric. Sometimes it's very simple and humble, a milepost, a cast iron boundary marker, a bollard. At other times it's quite spectacular, a great flight of locks or a soaring aqueduct, taking water where it's got no natural right to go. Our waterways are integral to our history as a nation. We've sailed on them, they've helped us win wars, and we've traded on them. Once industrial waterways, they're now an important part of the national heritage and something to be enjoyed. It really is a museum without walls. Much of this heritage is still in everyday use, but it needs ongoing care and conservation. And that's where the Canal and River Trust's heritage team comes in. Every day we strive to conserve and protect historic objects and buildings along our waterways. Things with archaeological, architectural, engineering and historical importance. The control of water is one of man's oldest technologies. It's allowed us to drain low-lying areas and fortify castles and cities. It's powered machinery and it's created simple and efficient trade routes. After natural rivers began to be made navigable, the next logical step was to create artificial waterways, or canals. Many of our canals were built at the height of the Industrial Revolution. Canals allowed goods to be delivered up and down the country, quickly, cheaply and efficiently. Manufacturing boomed. Shock cities were born, like Stockport, Manchester and Birmingham. There are more miles of canal in Birmingham than in Venice. The benefit of our canals to local economies became a catalyst for urban regeneration in Birmingham and encouraged the growth of brownfield redevelopments long before the term had become fashionable. Today, the heritage of industrial architecture is widely valued, with many canal-side buildings now finding new uses. There was no end to the ingenuity of the canal engineers during the Industrial Revolution. They constructed brilliant, daring structures across Britain, so we could travel up and down and through hills and across valleys in a way that was never possible before. Pontcysyllte Aqueduct is a perfect example. It's a soaring cathedral that takes the Llangollen Canal high above the River Dee in North Wales. Completed in 1805, it is the longest and highest aqueduct in Britain. It's also a World Heritage Site and it's entrusted to our care. It's not all engineering structures though. The Trust owns a lot of historic property, ranging from cottages to great multi-storey warehouses. And we also play an important part in looking after great historic docks, like those in Liverpool. Taken all together, it's a tremendous historic environment. The Trust's work of operating, maintaining and conserving the centuries-old waterways of England and Wales never ends. There are always canals that need dredging, lock gates that need replacing, embankments that need inspecting, and bridges, aqueducts and tunnels that need repairing. To help in this noble work, the Canal and River Trust employs a specialist team of heritage advisors.
I'm the Heritage Advisor for the Central Shires region, which covers canals such as the Trent and Mersey Canal, Coventry Canal and the River Soar. I absolutely love being a Heritage Advisor because the work is so varied. We can be in archives conducting research for our engineering colleagues. We can be on site with the construction teams providing practical advice on how to best repair our bridges and locks. The conservation work we do in our canals is not about freezing time, it's about managing change to best conserve our canals and historic buildings.
I'm passionate about the waterways, and the key for myself and the other heritage advisors is passing on that enthusiasm. What we want to do is conserve this for the future, and so training is very important to us. We go through full training programs for practical skills, lime mortar, repairing brickwork and stonework, and ensuring that they understand why we've got to conserve this amazing industrial heritage. Our busiest time of the year is between October and Easter, and when half the country is out Christmas shopping, that's when we have our stoppages, which is when we have an opportunity to go into the lock chambers, have a look at the masonry and the brickwork, possibly mend the floors. We also take the opportunity to replace the lock gates. Many of the lock gates are on a cycle of 25-30 years, and we need to replace them with green oak lock gates, which are made in our own workshops by skilled craftsmen. They're also installed with our skilled workforce. At Bingley Five Rise Locks on the Leeds-Liverpool, just north of Bradford, we had a stoppage where we dewatered the whole of the lock flight and gave people the potential to come and have a look at all the work we were doing. Bingley's a Grade 1 listed structure. That gives it the same protection as Buckingham Palace. So stoppages are our busiest time, and in recent years we've invited the general public to come and have a look at the work that we're doing. Now at Bingley, we invited the public down and 7,500 people turned up over a 2-day period. This was a cold February weekend and we had people travelling from Scotland. We had elderly people coming and very young children, and all of them were inspired by the brilliant environment. One of the key things that we loved to show people were the mason's marks. These are small engravings on the lock walls that were carried out by the masons who constructed those locks in 1774. And we believe that it was so that they could get due payment from their employer for the amount of work that they'd carried out. When we repair historic structures, schedule ancient monuments, listed buildings, we have to ensure that we mend it appropriately. We have to use the correct materials, we have to use lime mortar. We can't just turn up on site and use cement. We're a very small team as heritage advisors, and we cover the whole of England and Wales. So we rely very heavily on volunteers who help us.
I'm Julie.
I'm Anne-Marie.
And we volunteer for the Canal and River Trust. I'm working with a specialist team who look after the third largest estate of historic structures in England and Wales. It's an incredible opportunity to gain hands-on experience in a highly specialist sector of conservation practice. You can get all the theory from books and from university, but this is real life, and what I'm learning is really valuable.
I've literally just started working with the Canal and River Trust just this week, and already I'm learning so much, and that I've learned there's so much heritage to be found along the waterways, and it's just such an amazing hands-on experience from just walking along the canals and seeing how many heritage structures the Canal and River Trust manage. It's just such an amazing experience.
Well, I've been shadowing a heritage advisor in the Birmingham area, which covers a large part of the West Midlands. I've been carrying out heritage assessments and character appraisals and going out and inspecting structures along the canal and finding out which ones need attention.
Learning about waterway heritage is so important to me and to others, because I think if we understand the history of the waterways, we can conserve it for future generations.
I love the canals of Britain because it's an opportunity to really appreciate the history and the heritage of the canal system, how much effort actually went into building the canals and the tunnels. You really appreciate it as you feel it going through every lock, every tunnel. It's wonderful.
We came from California to go down the canals in England, and we have almost been on the canals for a week, and it's been lovely. It's been challenging because the boats are quite long and the canals, as you can see, are quite narrow, but we've had a terrific time learning. It's been beautiful and relaxing, and people have been terrific, and the canals have been just beautifully maintained.
This is Foxton Locks. It's a nationally important example of the kind of thing that the Trust and its heritage advisors strive to conserve every day. 2 staircases of 5 locks. This nationally important working heritage is something that visitors can experience, touch, see and enjoy. But not all our heritage is that obvious. A lot of it is minor, homespun detail, the everyday stuff of the life of the canals. And without the work of our colleagues at the Trust and our heritage team, a lot of that heritage would be lost. This is an example of spectacular and daring canal heritage. It's the remains of the Foxton Inclined Plane that was built in 1900. The locks were only 7 foot wide and could only take narrowboats, but this incline could take wide coal barges carrying coal from the Midlands down to London. The problem was, at the other end of the canal, there are still narrow locks, so the incline was a white elephant. It only really operated for 10 years, and by 1928 it was being dismantled. And today it may look like a slightly ruinous hillside, but it's actually one of our most important archaeological sites. It's a scheduled monument, and we work hard to conserve it and keep its remains visible as they are today. The Canal and River Trust is all about keeping people and nature and history connected. Over 90% of our visitors tell us that they really value our waterways as part of the nation's heritage. And we've got thousands of designated buildings and structures. We've got fantastic industrial sites, spectacular feats of engineering that you can come and visit. We've got 3 museums that explain the lives and the work and the boats of the people who operated the canals of the world's first industrial nation.
The waterways are a deeply loved and valued part of the landscape. On the one hand, a source of idyllic tranquility, on the other, a scene of busy boaters, anglers, towpath walkers enjoying themselves. So it's difficult to imagine that 200 years ago the canals were the mainspring of Britain's emergence as the world's first industrial nation. They're an astonishing engineering achievement in their own right, and it was the network of canals that enabled the unification of the industrial market, the link between the industrial heartlands of England and the great seaports, the key to the development of Britain as an industrial country. For me, the care of this astonishing heritage asset is a national responsibility. And in order to meet its requirements, the Canal and River Trust, which has taken over the heritage assets and the whole of the canal network from British Waterways Board, is dedicated to protecting everything that is the historic and heritage value of canals and rivers, but also ensuring that they're properly cared for in the technical sense and that as many people as possible can enjoy, appreciate and understand what they represent.
I'm really proud of the work the Trust and our heritage team do to safeguard the history of the inland waterways of England and Wales for future generations so that they can enjoy them in the years to come, just as we do today.